Everyone is creating content, but not everyone is growing an audience of buyers from the content they create. In this video, I'm going to show you the 4 levels of content creation. This represents the quality of buyers that you will attract, the amount of money that you can make, and when you get to level 4, this is where you are fully recognized for your work and your brand is in demand. But in order to understand these 4 levels of content creation, you first have to understand that content is a mirror and a magnet. It is a mirror because it reflects who you are. And it is a magnet because it attracts who you are being. So when you think that your business isn't growing fast enough, the first thing you look to do is change what you are attracting. But you're attempting to do that without first looking at the mirror. So in understanding these 4 levels of content creation, we're actually going to take a look at the mirror of your communication so that your business and brand are in demand. I did not mean for that to rhyme, but it did. The first level of content creation is information. This is where most experts start, but it's also where most experts stay. This is where you take everything that you know, everything in your brain, and you just create that into content. This is where you're sounding more like a textbook rather than creating mini breakthroughs with every piece of content that you create. This is what happens when you want your audience to know something, but you're not paying attention to what your audience is paying attention to. So let's say, for example, you are a weight loss coach and you help people lose weight. You might know that in order to lose weight, you want to strength train, but your audience is thinking that they need more cardio. Here you come in your content talking about how important it is to strength train. You might even be talking about how it's related to weight loss, but the way that you're talking about it is in a way that your audience can't understand. And so you're sounding like a textbook, giving stats and figures and data all around strength training, but here your audience is paying attention to cardio. So now there is this mismatch. So you're sounding like a textbook talking in all of this jargon, but your audience is like, yeah, that's going over my head. They're not even paying attention because what's on their top of mind is the fact that they think they need more cardio. So the reason why most experts get stuck at this level is because you haven't yet taken the time to understand your audience. You don't understand yet what your audience is truly paying attention to. You know what their problem is, but they also have a belief around what they think their problem is. So part of your job in content is to take your knowledge and then put it into a system that now speaks from their point of view. It's so essential that you start to understand what your audience is already thinking about and what are they already looking for. Because if you're talking about information and they're looking at something completely different, now what you're putting online is a complete mismatch. And this is why you think that you're doing so much and you're putting out so much energy into creating your content, but you're like, why isn't anybody paying attention to what you're posting? It's because you are not speaking in the level of awareness that they are paying attention to. So you want to make sure that you are completely studied up on your audience's pains and their desires and their needs. And not just externally what they desire, but also internally. So let's say, for example, maybe they do want to lose weight, but internally, they don't feel confident going to the gym. They don't feel confident going in with the body that they currently have and looking stupid because they don't know how to pick up the weights or use any of the machines. That's all internal. But externally, they're like, I don't have time because my schedule is busy. I've got kids, I've got work, I have a business, I've got all this stuff going on. That's an external thing. So you want to understand not just externally, but you want to understand your audience internally. And so this is how it's going to prepare you to get to level 2 of the content creation. So when you are in the information stage, you are around like $0 a month to maybe like 1,000, maybe pushing that $2,000 a month in revenue. And the way that people are finding you is because they're learning from you, but the kind of audience that you're likely attracting at this level is the audience that is still looking for free tips and free tricks. And so your sales at this point is sporadic, even though they might be coming in, it's not consistent. And you feel like you got to put out a lot of effort, a lot of content in order to get something to convert because there is this mismatch. So, of course, it's a numbers game. You put out enough stuff, there is going to be people who fall into your world who end up on your email list and land into your offers, but you're going to feel like you're doing exponentially more than what you're getting on return. And so what you want to do here is you want to start understanding, like I said, what is it that your audience is genuinely paying attention to, which is going to help you go into level 2 of content creation. If you are looking to understand content on a much deeper level, I've got a free training. It is the 7 biggest content marketing mistakes that are killing your sales. It will go hand in hand with this video to help you understand what other aspects of content you need to shift and how to actually move up in all of these levels. Because you want to get out of level 1. So let's move on to level 2. This is presentation. This is where you start sharing your perspectives online and you start speaking from your expert experience, not just from your expert knowledge, but your expert experience. So you might be sharing your point of view and your perspective, and you might also be sharing some insights of your day-to-day life on how you're doing the work that you're doing. You are more inviting. You are bringing people more into your world. They're starting to see what it is you really stand for and what you represent. Think about the word presentation. What does that mean? It's a demonstration. It is more of a visual around what it is you stand for. And so you are becoming this representation. You are fully becoming embodied, or I should say more embodied in the things that you teach, in the things that you speak about. And so as you become a representation, you are now presenting yourself. And so now you're going to start attracting more people into your audience because you're sharing insights. You are now sending light bulb moments in their brain, and they're like, ooh, they're starting to realize that what you're saying is making sense. You're starting to understand better how to bridge the gap between your knowledge and the problem that they want solved. And so you becoming this demonstration is starting to conjure up some feelings inside of your audience, some feelings of connection, some feeling like, hey, I really resonate with this person. And they might start checking you out. But the problem at the presentation level is that, yes, you will attract more people. Yes, you'll make more money because you're allowing people into your life. You're allowing people into your expert world. You're speaking more on their level and on their language and the awareness that they have, but you are still attracting people who say things like, I can't afford it, or they were looking for something cheaper, or they're not yet investing in your higher tiered programs. They're looking for your lower tiered programs, and they're looking for the cheapest thing that they can buy from you. So this is where you start having money anywhere from like that $1,000 to $4,000 mark. You almost kind of inch your way into that 5K mark, but you're not quite there. And even at this level, your income is still a little bit unsteady. One month it could be high, the next month it could be low, and you just feel like you're putting out so much effort, so much content in order to make a sale. And at this point, you're really starting to feel like you're on a content hamster wheel in order to keep up with the sales. And you get excited about the revenue that's coming in, and you're thinking to yourself, I got to keep doing all of this work, so much more work in order to make the amount of money that you're making. But as you move up in level, what you'll see is that your communication gets more precise. This isn't about speaking more, saying more, or showing up more. This is actually about saying what you're saying, but with more precision. So that way, when you shoot the arrow with your content, when you shoot that arrow, it is landing deeper in the hearts of your people. and you actually need less volume of content in order to create the impact in their lives. And it makes your job so much easier. So when you are in this phase, you are sharing a lot more about yourself. You're sharing a lot more about your client stories, and you're starting to feel a little bit more natural on camera. So let's go to number 3, or I should say level 3, communication. This is where you start using the acronym F.A.M.S, F-A-M-S. F is for framework, A is for analogy, M is for metaphor, and S is for story. This is where you start sharing frameworks, sharing analogies, using metaphors, and telling stories in order to create a connection between what you know and what your audience is paying attention to. So let's say you are this weight loss coach, and I'm giving this example because I think it's the easiest example for a lot of people to just understand, and you can apply it to your own business specifically. But if you're a weight loss coach, you might have a framework that you take people through, a step-by-step process in how to start strength training. And then you might have an analogy that you are using so that they can start to understand why it's important. And then you have a metaphor, which you're comparing something in their day-to-day life to strength training. All of this is what helps your audience to see themselves better in the content that you are creating. Really good and effective content is when your audience can read or watch you and say something in their hearts and minds like, ooh, that's me. And they're kind of nodding their head, and their emotions are starting to get stirred up because they can feel that you're speaking to them. Because in the communication level, you're not just speaking to people in their logical brain. You're speaking to people in their heart center. You're speaking to people in the level of emotion that conjures up a sale. People buy because of how you make them feel. They don't buy because of the information that you share. And at this point, there's information everywhere. I feel like I'm saying a lot of things that rhyme today, but there's so much information everywhere. You can chat GPT and answer, you can Google and answer. It's easy to find that. But what people are looking for is to be able to see themselves inside of what you are saying. And you do that with this acronym. And when you tell a story at the communication level, you start telling a story that isn't just about you and your wins. You're actually telling a story that your audience can identify with and see themselves as their own hero. The goal isn't to get them to see you as the hero. This isn't making a business about you, which is not about you. This is all about allowing your audience to really see themselves so that they feel seen, heard, and understood. And when you tell a story in the most effective way, they're going to start seeing themselves, and they're just going to be nodding, and they're going to want to keep consuming more and more and more of your content. So I want you to think about your content as a vehicle. Your audience is here and you are over here. And this is how you're going to get them across to your side of the bridge. So if your audience is over here, they don't know what they don't know. What most experts are used to doing is kind of like shouting at their audience and saying, hey, come here, I've got the solution. And you're wondering why your audience isn't paying attention to you. Well, that's because they don't know what you're saying. They can't hear you from all the way over here. And they also don't trust the fact that you're going to guide them from all the way over there and be able to have a solution. You got to get in your car, which is your content vehicle, and you got to drive across the bridge, and you got to deliver their message. You got to meet them where they are. You can't expect your audience to come to where you are. And this is why there's such a mismatch with people online, because you're speaking to people at different levels of awarenesses. You're expecting people to just make that jump without you first going over there and saying, let me go get you, opening that car door, because your content is building so much trust that they feel safe to get in, and then you drive them to your solution. Because whenever you're creating a piece of content, in your mind, you should know that you have an offer that is going to solve the problem that you are speaking about. And what I mean by that is, let's say you sell 5 different things or 6 different things or whatever you sell. Every piece of content, it doesn't mean that you always have to use a call to action that says, buy my program. But you should know in the back of your mind what that is leading people to, because now you're going to be able to reverse engineer the step-by-step process that you're taking your audience through in the content that you deliver. You're going to be able to speak from their point of view, not from your point of view. The most effective content is content that literally positions you in their mind, in their hearts, in their body, to experience what they are experiencing, and then speaking from that lens, and then offering your expert perspective and shift so that you rotate their mind in a new direction. I just did this. So funny. When I used to like work on a lot of people's necks in physical therapy, if I'm ever describing anything to them, I would always do this motion, whatever I'm going to be doing if I'm manipulating a neck. That just brought back an entire flashback. Anyways, when you are rotating their mind, that is how they're going to start seeing themselves in your story, seeing themselves as being able to get a solution, or I should say, get the result of the solution that you are offering. So this is where you're around that $5,000 a month to $50,000 a month. And the reason why this is such a big gap is because this is a skill. Communication is a skill. And when you start grazing the surface of this skill, you're going to start increasing the monthly revenue that you're bringing in. And so it might be that consistent 5K a month. But now when you are consistently getting better at these skills, you're going to start jumping to 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 because you're honing in on your frameworks, analogies, metaphors, and stories. And you are becoming not just good at your craft, because you're already good at what you do. You are actually becoming good at understanding the desires of your people and how to express that, how to convey that, how to communicate in language and lingo that they are picking up. There are so many times where people have said to me, wow, you put words to the things I'm feeling. This is when I started to realize that so many people feel things, but they don't yet have words for what they're feeling. I just want you to think about this, for example. If you're reading something and you're like nodding your head, you're like, man, that's so spot on. You might start to realize I've been feeling that way, but those are words for how I feel. That is what really great content does. Really great content pulls out from whatever is inside of your audience. It pulls out that belief that they can do it. It pulls out that thought process. It pulls out this knowingness within them that they're able to achieve and have the results that they are looking for. It pulls all of that out because you're putting words to how they're feeling. And so when you can do that, you're now building a level of belief, not only in them and their ability to get the result, but you're actually building the belief in you and the solution that you provide and the way that you do it. You might be noticing right now online that there are so many people who might sound the same or might be offering something similar. But if you really pay attention, there's some people that you can listen to, and then there's some people that you can't, even though they're basically selling a very similar, if not the exact same result. That is because the way someone does something is going to attract their particular audience. So the way that you do something is going to attract your particular audience. And I always love to say that God is attuning your voice and your message while he's attuning their ears to hear you. It's not an accident that your voice is going to resonate with the hearts and souls of some people and not with others. But if you are consistently looking to be liked and be seen and serve everybody, you're actually missing the boat on serving the people that you're actually meant to serve. Because you can only show up to represent the people that you are here to serve, not anybody else. But when you are attempting to cast such a wide net and serve everyone and attract every person as an ideal client, that is why you are diluting your message, because you're trying to spread yourself too thin to make yourself palatable to everybody, make yourself feasible to everybody, and trying to make yourself, I was going to say affordable, but affordable isn't the word, but you're trying to make yourself be a person that everybody wants to buy from. And that isn't the case. You're really only looking to attract the people that you are meant to serve. So when you are so laser focused on your message, you'll attract a lot of people, but then the people who truly funnel in that are ready to buy from you will know it immediately and know it right away. But in the same breath, you'll also be nurturing the people who might not be ready to buy, but are also just invested in the way that you teach. So when you are here in this level, like I said, you're at that $5,000 to $50,000 a month, and you're really starting to attract people here who are just ready to invest. They have been binging your content. They are credit card in hand. They're like, man, I am really enthralled with what you're saying. They're excited to make a purchase, and they're buying your higher tiered programs with more ease. And then that bigger kind of outer ring audience that you're attracting are just enjoying what you are putting out. You are helping them to feel seen, heard, understood, not making them, or they're not feeling so alone by, the content that you are producing. You're making them feel included still, even though they're not ready to buy, but you're still going to be attracting people with that level of precision in your content who are ready to buy right now. Last but not least is level 4. This is something that I have seen so many amazing speakers, so many amazing coaches and experts truly master. My ears, I've noticed, can listen to some people, but not other people, talk about the exact same thing, and you probably noticed this too. And then there's some people that you just feel so magnetized towards. And you're like, they're not really doing or saying anything, but there's something about them that's speaking, even though you don't really know what that is, or you can't really put your finger on it. There's something about their level of confidence, their presence, their essence that's just so loud. And it's not because they are yelling or screaming or maybe even putting out a boatload of content, but it's more so when they are speaking, it's potent. When they are speaking, you're like, wow, that made my whole brain rotate in a different direction, and they're giving you a new perspective. And you can also understand and feel that they're not making content about them. They are genuinely making content to serve you. They're genuinely making content that allows you to feel seen, heard, and understood. So what is this level? Level 4 is authentication. Authentication. This is where you are fully showing up in the authority that God has given you over your assignment, over your calling. I heard Pastor Bill Johnson say, when you pray, you don't pray for victory, you pray from victory. And I was like, ooh, that's powerful. And so many experts, coaches, and thought leaders will say things like, I want to create content so that I'm viewed as an authority. Well, what that means is that you don't actually believe that you are an authority and that you are trying to make people think or believe or see something about you that you don't see in yourself. And so when you are fully in your authority, you're not trying to get anybody to see you in any kind of way because you don't need that level of validation. You don't need anything from people. You don't need anything from your audience because you understand where your identity comes from, where your authentication comes from, your stamp of approval comes from upstairs. And so you don't need to seek it in anybody else. You don't need to create content that makes it all about you for you to get validation or for you to feel good about yourself. And so when you are creating content from your authority, you have nothing to gain, nothing to hide, nothing to prove, and nothing to lose. This is where you are just being. This is the person who walks into the party and all the heads turn and they're like, who is that? And they haven't even said anything because they don't have to. There is an essence, there is an aroma, there is a presence that just sends out this frequency, this energy that they are somebody to pay attention to. And they're not even trying. They are not efforting to try to get you to think anything about them. And I find this so fascinating. I've spent so much time studying people who are truly authenticated. And the closer you get to God and the more intimate you become with him, it becomes so much easier to discern the people who are speaking from their ego versus the people who are speaking from their higher spirit and soul. And I mean this from the standpoint of when you get so connected to understanding where our identity truly comes from, and you get closer to being more like Christ, it's easy for you to see the people who are operating differently or who are attempting to get you to think something about them that they don't believe about themselves. And I'm fascinated when I see some people speak and it's just meh. You're like, yeah, it doesn't make me feel like anything. Then there's some people where I'm so captivated and I can't wait to listen to the next thing, or I can't wait to buy whatever they have next because there's something about them that really draws me in. And I know you understand this. I know you're feeling the exact same way about people that you might be listening to. And this is how you get to know that you're not meant to serve everybody, because you don't even like to listen to everybody. You don't like to listen to these 5 people over here talking about topic A, but you like to listen to these 5 people over here talking about topic A. Well, guess what? These people that you don't like to listen to, other people are listening to them. And that is how it works. My mom always says every bread has its cheese. Never quite understood what that meant. I don't think I still do, but I always repeat it and I find it fascinating because this is how I started to understand that every coach, every expert, every thought leader has their own group of people that they are leading, not because those people are followers, but because those people are also leaders and they like the way that you are leading. So you first want to understand, are you leading your life and your business in a way that really honors God? Are you leading your life and your business in a way that you would be proud of? Or are you leading your life and business a certain way, but telling people to do something else? This is also part of the reason why we won't become authenticated. You won't become authenticated if you are telling people to do this, but you're doing that. That is a level of mismatch. That is disembodiment. So you might develop the skills of framework, analogy, metaphor, and stories to be at a communication level, but the authentication level comes when you are truly a complete embodiment of your ultimate identity, a complete embodiment of the words that you are saying, the way that you live your life. You're not trying to hide any shame. You're not trying to block anything out. You're not trying to prevent anybody from getting in to see you or understand you because you got nothing to hide. And this level is what brings in the millions of dollars, because at this level, you're like, you're just so nonchalant about it. You're just in a space of like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, because you automatically know that you are only meant to serve certain kinds of people, and that will always trickle in. If it's not this opportunity, it's the next. If it's not that opportunity, it's the next. And you also understand that sometimes you have to say no to this so that bigger doors can open. And this is the difference between people who have just developed really great skills. And I think there are many marketers right now who have amazing skill. And I know many of them. They have great skill, but they're not fully authenticated. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I've been in rooms with some people who are honestly telling people to do this, but they're still doing this. They're attempting to get their audience to believe something about them that they're not practicing privately. And I have such a hard time sometimes understanding like how people can keep living that way. But the truth is, there's a level of disconnect and disembodiment. And although you might be seeing a representation online and you're like, ooh, I want that, I would caution you. Because what that means is you're desiring something that you see on the outside without understanding their mirror on the inside. And you got to pay attention to their mirror, because we can always make something look like something that really isn't it. And so I really want you to be so discerning about this and just understand the thing that you are striving for, which is probably some recognition and more people to buy and more people to tell you how great you are and all of these things. If that is what you desire most, more than you desire to serve people, you're moving farther and farther away from authentication. Authentication has nothing to do with trying to get recognition. It's not attempting to do anything. You are in an ultimate state of beingness. You're in an ultimate state of like, I just know I exist. I know I've got good value to put into the marketplace. I know that I have amazing things to say. I've got great insights and solutions. And I don't need to do anything over the top or extreme or crazy to try to get people to pay attention. You're just like, I'm here, right? And I want you to just start to see how essential this is. And so the very thing that you are striving for is authentication. But you might be doing that right now in a very disembodied way. You're trying to find words that get people to buy. You're trying to find the ways to get people's attention, but you haven't fully thought about what is it you need to say in order to make your audience feel seen, heard, and understood. Too many people have moved away from that because they're chasing virality. They're chasing being seen. And when you're chasing being seen, there's no room for you to see your audience, which is actually how you make money. You make money when you see them, not when they see you. And I know you're probably thinking that this sounds so counterintuitive, but this isn't about trying to make yourself do anything or look like anything. It boils down to how best you can reflect what you are here to do in terms of your mission and your purpose, how best you can reflect that in your content because it's naturally your state of beingness. This is why there's a lot of people that say they want to have so much impact and they want to have a big business, but yet they're saying that with their lips, but their actions are still all about them and how good they can look. And I challenge you, look at some people online and be like, ooh, yeah, I feel that from this person, but I feel really authentic with this person. People's buying decisions are changing online, and they're changing because they're starting to become more discerning. So I want for you to understand, how are you moving up these 4 levels? And you really want to get to this level of communication where you start refining your skill set and then deepening your spiritual and personal development to become authenticated. This is why reading the Bible is so essential, because you understand who God says you are and you understand his promise for you. Jeremiah 29:11, like, you start to understand exactly what it is you are here for. And once you understand that you have already won because he's already won, then you're not trying to do anything. You're not trying to get people in your world. People naturally want to be in your world because of how you are showing up. So I trust that this video serves you and blesses you. Drop in the comments right now, what level of content creation are you at? And share this with a business bestie. I will see you all in another video.